The name of the Ferguson, Missouri, police officer who killed an unarmed black teenager, sparking days of protests, will be released on Friday, the local police chief has said. Thomas Jackson told U.S. media the revelation would make things better. The shooting of Michael Brown, 18, on Saturday sparked outraged protests. For days heavily armed police responded with tear gas and rubber bullets, but on Thursday, tension eased when state police took charge of security. The change in command was announced earlier in the day by Missouri Governor Jay Nixon, after local police were roundly criticized for their heavy-handed response to the protests. "We're going to have to regain trust," said Mr. Nixon, a Democrat. Captain Ronald Johnson of the Missouri Highway Patrol, an African-American who grew up nearby, was named as the new head of the operation. As he walked at the front of a march through the streets on Thursday, Captain Johnson was seen hugging people he met. "We all want justice. We all want answers," he said. In addition to the simple outrage at the killing of a young man, residents of Ferguson, a small suburb of St. Louis, have been angered at the local police department's refusal to identify the officer who shot Mr. Brown. Thomas Jackson, of the local police department, had said he was withholding the name due to fears for the safety of the officer and his family. But on Friday morning, he told U.S. television news networks he would release the name later in the day. "We're learning and we're moving forward," Mr. Jackson told ABC News. "This all starts now to heal, to just make things better." The transformation over the past 24 hours here has been extraordinary. For days, there had been unrest and confrontation between a largely white police force and young, black protesters. But the images of police in military gear and armored vehicles out in Missouri shocked many Americans, led to criticism from officials, and clearly led to a change in tactics. Overnight the police presence was minimal. Black officers took the lead and were greeted with handshakes by people who poured onto the streets, now without fear of intimidation. They stayed there well into the night, in something of a united, celebratory mood. They feel they have brought about a change in their community, and say they will no longer accept what they saw as police bullying and humiliation. The previous evening, the reverberations from the Midwest town were felt nationwide with dozens of vigils organized by a social media campaign. The event in Washington, D.C. was attended by hundreds of people in Malcolm X Park, many holding placards saying, "Hands up. Don't shoot." Similar vigils were held in New York, Boston, Detroit, Chicago and many other cities. They came at the end of a day when Mr. Nixon likened the scenes of violence in Ferguson to a war zone and the police conduct was questioned. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said the use of military equipment and vehicles in Ferguson had sent a conflicting message, while President Barack Obama said there was no excuse for police using excessive force. Reporter Wesley Lowery of The Washington Post summed up the change in atmosphere on the streets of Ferguson. "At this time at night on Monday, residents were in real fear for their lives," said Lowery.